Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 27th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 28 live feeds. It was day 51 in the house, and this is definitely the first time you're all hearing that. It might have been the most important day of the entire season. There's a lot happening here. Barrett has perhaps woken up from slumber. Yash is making moves. Drew might be screwed. I don't know. We got to talk through it all. And I'm here with hundreds of people live in Milwaukee to do so. Very exciting. So obviously, you all know that Dee is the HOH. She nominated Taylor, Lala, and Drew for eviction. Drew was the initial target. He was enough of a guard dog, a lap dog, a terrier, as Dee might call him. Changed the vets' minds. Lala ends up winning the veto with the power of her tongue. And Mallory was replaced on the block as the primary target. But the question was, how do we let Drew and Barrett know that she is the target? How do we let them know that we are voting her out? Devens and Dee last night, the night before, they were talking about how they might need to just blindside Drew and Barrett. The reason being, they don't want Drew and Barrett to have a chance to try to flip a vote, to try to pull Haley. And if Mallory wins the Blockbuster, ideally, we don't have to deal with the fact that we were going to evict her. Hopefully, we maintain some level of mosh pit solidarity. So the plan became, let's blindside Drew and Barrett. And that was the plan going into the morning. And it was a late morning. They slept in quite late. I was thinking, ooh, boy, this is going to be an easy one tomorrow. They've barely said anything. Lala was up for hours by herself. I was just going to be Lala for 2 hours up here. Barrett and Haley did talk, though, in the morning in bed. They were talking about the 1,000th episode. They know it's coming this season. They were like, it might be next week. Could be next. It could be tomorrow. It is tomorrow. If it is, maybe it's like a double eviction. That would be interesting. Haley says she's been feeling a little, like she's had some rough weeks / months, and she's been feeling a little better lately. She's just afraid of getting blindsided again. She doesn't want to be left out of a vote. She says she felt like she was slapped in the face this week. Did you hear about it? You hear about it, Barrett? He says, no, I didn't really catch all of it. I'll tell you outside. I'm just like, damn, it's probably the worst one, but it's fine. She's talking about Taylor. Devens and Dee talk up in the HOH room. Devens is feeling even better about this plan to blindside Drew and Barrett because what will happen is they will vote out Taylor, thinking that they can keep Mallory, and then Taylor will be even more mad at them, and they'll have nowhere to go even more. They'll have to come crawling back to us when we say, oh, well, we did it for you. We did it for you. We just don't want you to have to lie. But he does want to give them like a little hint, right? Like, hey, our minds are turning. We don't want to like completely be like, oh, we're for sure going to keep Mallory and then completely blindside them. He wants to be like, well, we do have concerns. And so that way, when it happens, he can be like, all right, see, well, we were trying to tell you. But Dee's like, well, I don't want to give them a heads up too far in advance. I don't want to give them the chance to do anything about it. They agree Drew will take it better than Barrett. Dee says that if she were Drew and Barrett, this would piss me off. So what we could do, we could have a conversation with them late at night, kind of pin it on everyone else, make it seem like it's a possibility. And Devin's like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's exactly what I was thinking. Dee says, we can basically say that if Mallory finds out about this conversation, Mallory finds out that we were talking about maybe evicting her, and then she wins HOH next week after staying with the Blockbuster, and then she targets us, we're going to be like, ha! We knew it, Drew and Barrett. This is your fault. Devens is like, that doesn't make any sense. If she's in power, we were already screwed. I don't think we should threaten them like that. He's like, okay. So let's just have the conversation. approach it, and then if they're down for it, great. If not, we blindside them. We ask for forgiveness. That becomes the plan. Haley joins the conversation. So part one of this whole plan is that they need to now get Haley on board because Haley has been under the assumption that Taylor is going to be evicted and that she will gleefully vote her out in the diary room. They need to tell her, no, we actually need your vote here. Ideally, they have their vote, or her vote, so that it's extra sure that even without Drew and Barrett, they can take out Mallory over Taylor. They talked to her. She says she had a conversation with Barrett. She had the one in the morning. She also had one the night before. And in the conversation the night before, she's telling them that she was talking to Barrett about keeping Drew, and that he said that he would keep Drew because he knows what Drew would do, and he doesn't know what Mallory would do. In fact, he worries that Mallory would put up his friends. And they're like, wow, we're his friends. I don't know how true that is, but... and this is true. This is a true conversation. It happened the night before. They were talking about keeping Drew, keeping Mallory. And Barrett says, well, I think we're on the same page about voting Mallory out over Taylor. And she was like, oh, really? You're going to vote out Mallory? He's like, yeah, I feel I have a better sense of where Drew's going. With Mallory, it's like we're good friends, you know? And Haley's like, well, yeah, I think Drew and I would do similar things in the game. And Barrett says, that's what matters to me, because I'm not trying to, like, risk any of my friends. And she says, all your friends would go up. And he says, yeah. And that's what's like, oh, sorry, I thought you were going to high-five me. And then they high-five, I kid you not. So that's a true conversation, and so Haley's now relaying that to Dee and Devens, and Dee says, "Well, that's why she's got to go. She's gonna put up all of Barrett's friends, and we're Barrett's friends." And Haley's like, "I'm voting Taylor. I'm voting Taylor." You're gonna vote Taylor? Why? Like, you know why? Same reasons as what Angela and I said. We spoke about it, right? I would do Taylor to get rid of the tension from the Lala bullshit, and then I would still keep shooting for Mal after that. And Dee's like, isn't that an emotional decision, though, Haley? Isn't that emotional? Aren't Cheez-Its Cheez-Its, you know? She didn't say that, I said that. And Haley tries to continue to make a case for why Taylor's more dangerous. They ask what Angela said. Haley says Angela doesn't like the energy. She wants it gone. But Devens then chimes in. He says, listen, there's 4 on one side. There's 3 on another side. We've got to, it makes more sense to make this happen. And Haley starts to back down. She just hates the thought of both of Taylor and Lala staying, but she's willing to do what she needs to do as long as they both agree that we're putting up Taylor and Lala next week, that we're targeting them. And hopefully, you know what? We talked about it. It might be a double eviction. Oh, it would be so good if it were a double eviction. That way we could get both of them out. And Dee says, listen, you have my word. We will evict Taylor and Lala. They will make sure that they go. Now, while this is happening, Drew and Barrett are downstairs. They're checking in. They want to know where Yash stands with the vote, because Yash is telling everyone what they want to hear. He's telling Mallory he's keeping her. He's telling the vets, apparently, that he's willing to vote out Mallory, and they don't really know where he stands. They do both confirm to each other that they've talked to Haley, and she seems down to keep Drew, which is great. So Drew goes upstairs, and he talks. He joins the conversation with Haley, Dee, and Devens. And this is where things get more interesting. This is where things get bad for Drew, at the very least. This is kind of like a ticking clock all day long. It's counting down to disaster. Drew's game has counted down to disaster before, but this is a much more accelerated timeline. And little pieces are going to add up in the same way that little pieces added up when Corey flipped on Sari, and honestly, it's reminding me a little bit of like our friend Jordan Parhar. Things went wrong for him in a similar way as well. But he goes upstairs. He asks them about the Taylor and Mallory vote. He says, obviously, I prefer Taylor go. He doesn't know that Haley's already been flipped to evict Mallory now. And Dee's like, well, Haley just told us something that Barrett said. And Haley's like, I don't want to say. I don't want to relay that. And they're like, oh, sorry. I just don't want to relay that. So she says she doesn't. It's awkward. And Drew says, yeah, okay, listen, I'm with you guys. Obviously, Melody's going to be pissed at me, but, Barrett's honestly the one I'm worried about. But I'm down to evict Mallory over Taylor. Yes, I skipped a bit. I'm reading off of a phone. I don't know if you can tell. It's all right. It's like I'm a stand-up comic trying out new material on you. You know what I mean? I haven't had a chance to memorize it because I was up till literally 4 in the morning. My Whoop score is very bad today. Here's the key part. Haley says, okay, Drew, you're down to do whatever. Well, the plan is to keep Taylor. And I'm shooting for both Mallory and Melody next week. Haley was not supposed to say that. Devens actually specifically told her, please don't tell anyone that we're talking about this. At which point Drew goes, oh, shit. Okay, like he kind of thought that was the plan, but now he knows. Now he knows that they are evicting Mallory over Taylor. He says he's down for it. Melody will be pissed at him. Barrett is the person he's worried about. And then things get quiet and awkward because Haley wasn't supposed to say that. And so he's just kind of like, all right, I'll head downstairs, I guess. He leaves the room. And after he's gone, Devens is like, Haley, you just told him Taylor was going to stay. You weren't supposed to say that. She goes, what? Oh, shit. No, I didn't. I meant to say Mallory. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll go clarify. So she goes down and she finds Drew in the bedroom. She's like, oh, hey, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I mean to say, we keep Taylor, Melody goes. And Drew says, oh, you said that. She's like, oh, they said I said it different. He's like, what, the Mallory leaves? She's like, yeah, they said I said it differently. He goes, no, you said it right. She's like, that's what I thought. I hate this game. This is such a bad day for me. He says, just tell them I understand. I'm on board. Please, I don't want them to be mad at me. So she messes it up twice. So Drew goes and talks to Devens, and he's like, hey, like, where's your head really at here? Like, what's going on? And Devens says he's really torn about it. You know, Mallory is obviously the bigger threat, but he doesn't want to burn Barrett and Drew. He tries to claim that Haley was the one pitching it, right? Haley was telling them all this information, and that's why ultimately they are going to decide to evict Mallory. And Drew tries to argue against it. He says Taylor's coming after all three icons. Mallory would target Haley, all the same kinds of arguments they've made before. But Devens keeps pulling it back onto, I don't want to burn Barrett. I know you're cool. I know you're not going to have a problem with this, Drew, right? But Barrett, he's the uncool one. He might have a bad response to this. And Drew's like, yeah, you know, I think he'd be bummed, but he's crossover strong. I still feel good about us, you know? Devens wants to know if they should talk to Barrett or maybe just leave him out of it. Maybe he'd rather not know. And Drew does something here that might be the end of his game. He says, no, we should tell Barrett. I think he should know. I think that the three of us should stick together. In the meantime, Barrett is talking to Lala about the vote. He's letting her know that he's evicting Taylor, and the House seems to be leaning toward keeping Drew. Lala does come out of this conversation thinking that Barrett's going to vote to keep Taylor, but that's fine. She's going to keep Taylor and evict Drew. They're pretty much on the complete opposite pages, but it's also fine. Drew talks to Haley, Dee, and Devens again, and they compare stories about how Yash is still pitching against the icons and wants Drew out. This Drew Yash thing still quite a problem for Drew. Now Mallory throughout the morning has been pretty upset. She's crying, she's worried, and she's talking to Barrett, and she's like, Barrett, like, I'm just worried about the icons. Like, are they going to try to get me out? I'm not feeling very good. And she's crying to him. I just don't want to go home. I just can't go home this week, Barrett. And he's comforting her, and he's trying to make her feel better. And he says, listen, you're kind of right. I don't trust Devens with this vote. He is kind of giving me weird hints. But I'll talk to him. I'll make sure this is all right. And this is important, too, because I think Barrett is really feeling it. He's talking to Mallory. He feels that passion that she has, and I think he feels really bad about the situation she's in. And all of the times that Barrett has just rolled over and let this happen to her and to all of his allies. So eventually they get Barrett into the gym, Drew, Dee, and Devens, and they talk with him. And Dee's like, should we talk about Mallory versus Taylor? And Devens says, listen, there's a lot of talk about the four of you. And I also feel a little nervous about the four of you. In a vacuum, I do think it makes sense to evict Mallory over Taylor. I think that she is objectively the bigger threat to my game, to our games. But we're not in a vacuum, so I want to make sure that, we hear you guys out. And Dee mentions now that Haley said that Barrett told her that Mallory would put up his friends. And he says, that's not true. She said that first, which is kind of true, but also not entirely true. Dee says it doesn't matter, it logically makes sense to do this. And Barrett, he's just sitting there. He's just like sitting there on the couch. Sorry, I'm way too low to the ground to be Barrett. He's kind of sitting there on the couch. And he's clearly not happy about this. Damn, this sucks. I do trust you guys, and I am pro crossovers, but I feel pretty burned. If I won HOH this week, I would have gone about it differently. Like, why did we even bother making this alliance? Last week, if this is how we're going to operate, what were we even doing? I mean, you guys can vote however you want. I'm not voting Mallory out. I'm not going to do it. Dee says, well, listen, we don't want you to feel burned. Barrett. Devin says, listen, I know how you feel. Kamu was really the closest person to me outside of the alliance. And, I had to kind of do him dirty. And Drew chimes in. Drew's trying to kind of smooth the situation over. He says, hey, if there is a time for Mallory to go, maybe it is right now. Because it's not at your hands, right? It's at their hands. It's kind of like, how the cookout, they kind of did each other's dirty work. It's always like the cookout. When you put Mallory on the block, Barrett says, was she just always the target? Was she immediately the target? He's like, no, it kind of came about through conversation. That's not true. Angela joins, and Drew, throughout this conversation, he's trying to smooth things over, but this is also very difficult for Drew. And as soon as Angela comes in, she sees Drew. He looks a little upset. She's like, Drew, what's wrong? And he's sitting there on the couch. He's just like, nothing. It's just hard, It's just hard. I like her a lot. She's so nice, and I feel so bad. I'm with you guys all the way, That's what sucks, And Angela comes over. She hugs him. Barrett's like, listen, I just feel like we wasted so much time making sure these girls trusted you guys, and it was just a waste. What did we even do that for? Dee's like, listen, I understand. I've been super selfish this week. This is a selfish move that I had to make, but I also had to blow up the red corner to keep you guys safe. I've made unselfish moves, and this is, I've got to be selfish for the first time in my life. It's chess, not checkers. Devens also kind of chimes in here to be like, you know what, Dee? It was selfish of you. But I understand. Very transparent to anyone but Drew. Drew says, I think this is the best path forward, and then they get interrupted. So Barrett leaves, and he's very upset about this conversation, obviously. He pretty quickly goes to Mallory, and he says, I knew it. I was right not to trust Devens. He's in there. He's worried about us four. He's saying you're a bigger comp threat than Taylor. He's not telling her everything yet, but he's putting some worry into her. She goes, that's really bad. He's like, yeah. She's like, what did he say? Or what did you say? He says, oh, I said I wouldn't vote you out. That's really bad. And she goes to Melody. She says, Melody, Barrett says he's saying I'm a bigger comp threat than Taylor. I don't know. I think the vets want me out. I think they're going for it. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm in trouble. And Melody's like, so Barrett talks to Yash. And Yash just wants to know where the vets' heads are at. He's obviously already talked to the vets, but the vets have convinced or have told Yash that they're down to evict Drew. He doesn't know that they're going to keep Drew. And so Barrett says they're keeping Drew. They're keeping Drew over Mallory. They're keeping Drew over Taylor. And Yash is like, what? No. Like, yeah. He's like, well, I guess I haven't had a chance to talk to them about it. He has. He says, all I know is that Dee and Devens, they make decisions together. I think Devens is in Dee's ear. This is bad news. Yash has been trying to explain this to anyone that will listen because he can't tell them about his bride. Well, he could, but he doesn't want to. What he does try to do is be like, hey, they are together. They are not separate. What he's trying to say is she made a deal with me to keep him safe. Barrett says, yeah, they want to keep Drew, but I don't know if that's the way I'm leaning. He says, you and I, we're kind of swing votes in this scenario. Like, what are you thinking, Yash? He's trying to draw some stuff out of Yash here. Yash says he would want to keep Mallory over Drew, obviously, but she should have the votes no matter what. But I need to hear what the vets have to say. It's very sus that they want Drew to stay, right? So they break up and they go talk to other people. In the meantime, Taylor is campaigning to Angela. Angela says she's keeping Taylor under all circumstances. Taylor says, I won't nominate you if I win. And just so you know, I'm way more concerned about these people in the middle. You icons, you should be very worried about Mallory and the jury. She said she would never vote for an icon to win, which is true. She said that to Taylor. Mallory tells Drew her concerns about the vote, but she thinks she should be good if she has Drew and she has Yash, and she doesn't have either. She doesn't know that, though. Not quite yet. Drew sees Melody laying on the couch, and Melody is still kind of pissed. She didn't actually scream, but she's screaming in her head. He walks up to Melody, and he kind of like rubs her head as he does. She bats his hand away. No. And he goes, oh, really? Yeah. He walks away. That's not good. That's not good. So Drew goes to Barrett. He says, I've officially lost Melody. She's pissed. He's like, how so? She's just mad and she blames me for it. Which, I mean, she's not wrong about. I think you and me are officially crossovers to the end of the game. That's it. That's it for Drew. He's burned Melody. She's so mad at him, she won't even let him pet her head. Barrett says, none of this surprised me. I knew they were going to do this shit. Drew says, listen, it's the right move for them, wrong for us. But hey, silver lining, targets on our backs are lower and the icons a little higher, right? Drew says, listen, we're no longer the middlemen. I think FAP is dead. Barrett goes, fuck. Drew says, you know what, though? I appreciate how Devens spoke up about how selfish Dee was being. That was real nice of him. He's really on our side. Barrett says, I'm kind of over them, right? Like, why did they make the alliance? What are they doing? Drew says, it's okay. Now they all have to die. Meaning, Yash, Taylor, and Lala. Barrett says, yep. I mean, our line in the sand is drawn, I guess. Drew says, we should vote out Mallory so Dee doesn't have to break a tie. Barrett says, she should have to break a tie. I'm not going to do that. So if it's Taylor-Mallory, you're voting out Taylor. Barrett says, yeah, you should too. He says, yeah, I know. It's just, I got back in the goodwill of the crossovers. I don't want to fucking put her on the spot, you know? I wouldn't want to do that to Dee. Barrett says, listen, I don't want Dee saying she doesn't want me to feel burned. When she put you up, I said I didn't like it. And then she said she was going to put Mallory up. I was like, this is starting to feel like a pattern. And now, she's like, listen, you're my middleman. It's us. We're in this together. Remember that. And they get interrupted and they break up the conversation. It's not a good conversation for Drew. Countdown on the doomsday clock there. Taylor, in the meantime, she's going to comfort Mallory. She says she's voting for Mallory to stay, which is true. She's voting Drew out. Yash talks to Mallory. He says Barrett told him that vets want Drew to stay, which is suspect as fuck. That guy. Drew has a deeper conversation with Melody. She's initially kind of like just ignoring him. He's like, how much do you hate me, Melody? She says, I don't hate you. I'm just irritated. I don't get what you're doing. In what context? I don't know what game you're trying to play, Drew. Mallory interrupts this before they can go any further. Obviously, there's some deeper stuff here. Melody and Drew, they've had a flirty relationship. And so in what context actually does kind of mean something, because in the context of us or in the context of us, right? Mallory says there's no way Devens didn't have a hand in her renom. If he's going to send her home over Taylor, there's no way he wasn't in on it from the start. We just fell into their trap. They're going to keep coming for you guys because they don't see Taylor and Lala as threats. You have to see that, Drew. And after Drew leaves, they both say, we can't trust that this is enough for Drew to finally realize he needs to turn on them. So Drew goes to Haley. He is actually still feeling like he wants Mallory to stay. He tries to feel Haley out to see if she's willing to maybe vote in that direction too, but Haley's not down. In the meantime, Dee talks to Barrett again. She wants to know how he's feeling. He says he's feeling better. He wasn't really surprised. He just disagrees with the decision. In the end, though, he understands it. He's just confused as to why they formed an alliance last week. They're just going to immediately put each other on the block. She says, it's not what I intended. Barrett says, I didn't see this week going this way. If I had known it was going to go this way, I would have tried a little harder in the HOH competition. It's like, so you did throw the comp. Like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. He said in the diary room. He said, I just would have tried harder. And the vibe gets bad, right? Because she's now mad at him for throwing the HOH. Not as mad as I am, but still mad. And he's mad at her for, like, everything she's ever done. And so they're just kind of sitting there in silence for a while. And Dee's like, I don't think there's anything else to talk about. He says, yeah, I don't know where to go from here. They get up. They have a long-ass hug. And then he leaves. And he goes and he talks to Yash. And Barrett says, Yash, Dee wants to keep Drew. She wants Mallory out. And Yash says, that's not great. Why do they want to keep Drew? This tells me that they're like this. Drew's such a weirdo for that. If Taylor wins the Blockbuster, we would have the votes to blindside the icons. You know this, right? If Drew wins, we won't have the votes. But what if Mallory wins? Would you want to keep Taylor over Drew? Really? Really, Barrett? Barrett says that would be hard, you know? They start to go over the votes. He's like, yeah, I don't think we even have the votes. Well, Taylor versus Drew, unless Melody's done with Drew, because then, oh, we couldn't we? Oh, fuck. Yash is like, bro, I'm down. Bro. This can finally be the moment we show them that they're not the fucking ringleaders, bro. Barrett says, Drew is fucking this with them. We would just need to flip Melody. If Melody's willing to do it, we could go into the next HOH like 6v3. And who knows, maybe we flip Haley too. You know, Haley might not be on board. I mean, she obviously would want Taylor gone, but she's not on board with the Melody thing. But we need to flip Melody. Now, there's a little bit of confusion here. Barrett talks to Yash, and Yash makes it clear. He says, I'm voting for Taylor to stay over Mallory too. But Barrett thinks that what he's saying is he would do that because he doesn't think they have the votes. But if they could get the votes, that he'd be willing to flip and evict Taylor. So they, in flipping Haley, would also be able to get Yash's vote, and that Barrett would have just saved Mallory under both circumstances that she's on the block. But that's not really what Yash said. What Yash said was, I'm evicting Mallory over Taylor. But either way, the conversation goes well for the both of them in terms of getting on the same page. And at the end of it, he goes, fuck him. Drew's done. Barrett has finally woken up, and in a very real sense, he has chosen violence. So Barrett goes to Melody and Mallory in the bathroom, and he goes in right away. because he needs to flip Melody. He says, guess what Drew told me? Drew fucking told me in the storage room that he's willing to vote you out over Taylor to appease the icons. Oh, okay. He says, so, fuck that. I'm not voting you out no matter what. Oh, wow. They don't really understand the importance of this, right? They're like, I thought you were already doing that. So he tells them the plan. They need to get Haley, and if they get Haley, they have Yash, and then Mallory stays against anyone. He hasn't talked to them about Drew quite yet. He says, either way, we need to work on Haley. Now, he says another thing. When it comes to Drew versus Taylor, I'm going to be honest. Drew susses me the fuck out with his attachment to them. How do y'all feel about that? And Melody says, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, Drew's my close-ass friend. But at the same time, I agree because he's sussing me out too. Mallory's like, yeah, I just feel like he's a number for the icons. Mallory says, I was just telling her. I asked Drew to be my close ally the first week, and I feel like he's been lying to me this whole fucking time. And Barrett says, we both have. To be honest with you, me and Drew, we've been working with the icons since pretty much the beginning of the game. And I'm fucking over it. Melody says, the audacity of him to fucking lie in my face after I confronted him about it multiple times. Like, literally, fuck you, Drew. He says, if we do this, we have the votes to get rid of Drew over Taylor. We would just form an alliance with Yash, Lala, Taylor. We go against him next week. It's like, all right, I guess we're doing this. Melody's, she's very fuck Drew, but, you know, maybe in more ways than one, but she's a little concerned. She doesn't know exactly where she wants to go, but the plan is on. So Mallory goes and talks to Angela because if, in her mind, Yash is a vote to keep her now, which he's not, but she thinks as long as I get Haley or Angela, I now will have the votes to stay, potentially. It's not true, but she campaigns to Angela, and she talks to Angela about how Barrett is on board and how Yash is seemingly on board, and Angela's like, I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can for you, Mallory. And so she goes and she says to Dee, hey, Mallory's trying to stay. I'm a little worried about what Barrett's doing. And Dee's like, well, they can try it. What have they done in this game? It's not like they'll be able to do anything. Melody and Mallory talk together. Mallory says she thinks she has a shot at Angela's vote. She thinks that conversation went well. And if she has Drew's vote, that would mean that she stays over Taylor. She wouldn't even need Haley's. And she'd consider keeping Drew if he was going to vote for her to stay. Melody says, I'm just so angry with Drew. He's so pathetic. Drew walks in. Barrett talks to Haley about keeping Mallory. He's trying to flip her, right? Because he still thinks, remember, that Yash is a vote to keep Mallory, and that would mean that they can keep Mallory even over Taylor. And so if Haley's willing to keep Mallory over Taylor, which she should want to be because she wants Taylor out, then they can make this work. But she turns him down. She says, listen, I'm with you, but I don't think we should go against them. Hopefully she just wins the Blockbuster and we vote out Taylor over Drew. He says, well, like, Yash is down, though. We actually have the votes. She's like, I don't believe Yash is down. Come on. He's like, yeah, he is. He is. So he goes to Mallory and he says, Haley's not on board. She's like, no. Come on. We should tell her about how the icons wanted to flip that Melody vote because they want to do what Haley didn't want to do. Okay, yeah, that could work. In the meantime, Haley's up talking to Dee and Angela. And she's telling them about her conversation with Barrett, and she says, hey, apparently Yash is evicting Taylor? They're like, what? Yeah, he was saying that I would be the fifth vote. Haley's like, listen, I think Drew's gone. I think that Barrett's completely, like working here. I think that Barrett might actually evict Drew, just based on the conversation we were having. He's going really hard. They're like, come on, he's not going to go against Drew. Angela's like, oh, my God. Guys, if if Melody flips and Barrett goes against Drew, Drew leaves. Like, now, come on. That's not going to happen. We just talked to Barrett. We'll just talk to Barrett about it. It'll be fine. Dee's like, well, listen, if he really wants to do that, he'll just show us where he really stands. Then he'll see. We just have to win. We just have to win. Devens goes to Drew after a little while. Devens has been filled in. He says, Drew, Barrett's campaigning really hard. We're a little concerned, like he might be like voting against you or something. I don't know. Drew says, well, that's concerning, but I think I'm still good. Like, I don't want you guys questioning Barrett. You know, he's with us. Don't be questioning him. Don't turn him into the new Drew. All right? Drew goes and talks to Dee, and they talk about what Barrett's doing. They want to like call a crossovers meeting, an intervention of sorts, to make sure that Barrett stays good. So they call everyone up, and Drew says he wants to say he can't vote to keep Mallory, and it sucks. And he starts crying again. He's genuinely like torn up about this. He gets why Barrett is campaigning for her to stay. He'd probably do the same thing with Melody, but at the end of the day, he knows he would have to evict Melody, even Melody, if the time came. So they have a bit of like a group therapy session. If you have ever like worked at an office that operates like a cult, it's a little bit like that. Guys, we're a family. We're only a little bit exploiting you for labor. Yash and Mallory downstairs are talking. Yash is like, Drew's a fraud. He's got to go, bro. He talks to Devens because he's got to find out from Devens what the plan is. Devens tells Yash Mallory's leaving, Drew is staying. This is news for Yash. This is confirming what Barrett told him. So Yash goes back to Mallory. He says, well, apparently the vets are all going in that direction. They're keeping Drew. She's like, but Angela too? Really? I think I could have Angela. He says, I don't think so. I think they're all against you. I think Haley's against you. I don't think this is going to work. You versus Taylor, at least. Angela talks to Mallory. She said, no, I will keep you over Taylor. She's like, sorry, over who? Over Taylor? Yeah, I'm keeping you over Taylor, of course. Mallory's like, okay. She didn't say over Drew. That's not good. So Yash, Taylor, and Barrett talk through the plan. The plan, of course, is they're evicting Drew over Taylor. Like, this is actually happening. The FAP is going to be the end of Drew. After Barrett leaves, Taylor asks Yash. She says, does Barrett know that Mallory leaves over me? And Yash is like, I think so. I mean, they're trying to swing Angela and Haley, but it won't work. It won't work. Devens, Angela, Haley, Lala, they all vote Mallory for sure. And then Dee breaks a tie. And I vote to keep you, obviously. And so she's like, Haley's voting to keep me? He's like, okay. He says, that's what Grandmaster says. That's what Devens told me. Mallory, Melody, and Barrett talk. He says they're all still planning to vote you out. You versus Taylor is not going to work. But we do have the votes against Drew. And you know what he was doing just 30 minutes ago? He was saying he was going to vote you out. He was saying he was planning to vote you out. And Melody says, well, fine. I'm voting him out. I'm saying, fuck you, Drew. Meanwhile, Drew's up in the gym alone, crying. He really hopes Mallory wins the Blockbuster. He doesn't want her to go. Okay, Keanu. He really wishes Mallory or Barrett had won that HOH. That's fair. Melody joins, sees him crying alone. And this is important because this vote does rely on Melody. And at the end of the day, we talked about this last night. Barrett has woken up to the vets' influence over his game, over the game, and how he needs to strike back against them. That's great. His solution is to evict one of his closest allies. And there's already a bunch of debate over, like, does this make sense for Barrett in any meaningful way? Because he's not that closely aligned with Taylor. And Drew has expressed that he's willing to go against the vets in the past. He's just currently on the, we're actually crossovers to the end right now. But he's also on the block right now, and he needs their votes to stay. And so maybe if Barrett just had a conversation with Drew, they'd realize that this isn't really necessary, that like they can still keep Drew and go after the icons next week. It would just be they have Drew on their side instead of Taylor. They just don't know if they can trust Drew. And Drew's been talking a lot of smack today with Barrett about how this is the necessary thing. And that even though he's crying and he feels bad, that this is what he has to do. And this has really gotten to Barrett. He thinks that Drew can't be turned. But Melody might think he can be turned. And Melody can choose to not vote Drew out at any point, including last night, including this morning, including tonight, including after the Blockbuster, including during Drew's speech, including when she goes to the diary room to cast her vote. She could change her mind and Drew might stay. So when she sees Drew crying in the gym alone, it might get her thinking, right? She asks him what's wrong. He says, nothing. You want to talk about it? No. That's not smart. Yash is talking to Mallory. He's in pumped up mode. He's like Kyle in 24, not the bad one. The one that was forming the leftovers. It's time to start playing, bro. It's time to start playing. Let's fucking start playing this game. The icons are done. I'm taking baby Drew out against his daddy's wishes. Then things get weird because FAP is up late together, the four of them in the hot tub room. And it's like old times. They're all trying to like act like it's all good. Drew's trying to act like it's all good despite the fact that he's sad that Mallory's going to leave and he can't tell them. And Barrett and Melody and Mallory, they're sad because they're going to be voting him out and they can't tell him. And so they're joking around. They're talking about first kisses. They're talking about all kinds of stuff. But the vibe is bad. The vibe is awkward a bit. You know, there is a bit of tension here. And there's a little bit of like, I think we're all staying up really late because we don't want this to be the last night we're all together. But they all know that it is. So eventually Mallory leaves. And Barrett stays for a while. And eventually Barrett leaves. And it's just Drew and Melody looking into each other's eyes. And I'm not exaggerating. They're looking into each other's eyes deeply. And just sitting there in silence. He says, this is all I've ever wanted to do. I'm so happy I'm here. And she says, do you still feel like Mallory's going to stay? I don't know anymore. I mean, if I see she's going to win the Blockbuster, like maybe I don't try to win. She says, you're not going to do that. I know you. You're not going to do that. He says, why? She says, that's how you are, Drew. Says, I believe she can beat me anyway. Drew really thinks this is the only path to keeping Mallory. He doesn't realize that in losing, his friends vote him out. More time passes, and she asks him one more time, if you really think Mallory's going to stay, or Mallory's going to go, would you tell me? And he says, I don't think she's going to stay. But he doesn't say what his involvement is. And that's how we end the day. On a little bit of a cliffhanger. Tonight, a Blockbuster will happen. And if Drew loses, the plan currently is to vote his ass out. And keep Taylor. That could change if Melody decides she doesn't want to do it. If Drew has a better conversation with Barrett about going after the icons, they could change this vote very easily. And like I said, it could even be a last-minute thing. It's not necessarily in the interests of Melody, Mallory, or Barrett to vote Drew out unless they think he's a completely lost cause, which maybe he is, maybe he isn't. They don't know. They think he isn't, especially with Barrett saying, no, I'm telling you, he's lying to your face. But if he's sobbing to them, maybe in a bear shirt, who knows? they could change their minds. And if that were the case, then if Drew were to lose the block, if Mallory were to win, then Drew would stay over Taylor. But if Drew were to win, Taylor would stay over Mallory. And if Taylor were to win, Mallory would leave over Drew. Or no, sorry, Drew would leave over Mallory. It's either way, right? The point is, if this vote stays the same, Drew will leave if he doesn't win the Blockbuster. And if it changes, Mallory will leave if she doesn't win the Blockbuster. And the real thing is, does Taylor stay safe? That is the key vote, Drew versus Taylor. Because if Taylor wins the Blockbuster and it's Drew versus Mallory, they do still have the votes to evict Drew over Mallory. So that's what we have coming up tonight. It's an important Blockbuster. It's an important day of feeds because they know that Barrett's been plotting. There's definitely a vibe, and there's a very real chance that this could change again. And there's a very real chance that the icons are, for the first time in the entire game, blindsided and put on the back foot going into the next HOH. But there's also a big twist coming up tonight. We have no idea what's going to happen there. So it's all kind of to play for, as Jeff might say. And it's pretty exciting. And I'm very excited because we're going to be here live talking through the episode. I did manage to stream on my Patreon last night to see what it was, sort of show what it was like to be in the crowd of one of these things while an episode's on. I'll try to do the same tomorrow, but who knows? Or sorry, tonight. It's not tomorrow. I barely slept, so it seems like it's still tomorrow. But that's about what we have. Genuinely, thank you all for being here. This was an incredible experience. I've been doing the live feed updates for nearly 10 years now, and they're my favorite thing. They're my favorite thing in the world. It's so fun to be able to connect with so many people on a daily basis and tell stories every single day. And to be able to do it here in front of a crowd of people is genuinely a dream come true. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for being attentive. I just talked for who knows how long, an hour, and you all just sat here and watched me. And you also laughed, which was nice. I'll maybe save some of those jokes for my routine. So thank you all so much for joining. If you're watching at home, we'll be live tonight with a podcast. Hopefully the audio, the video will be nice and pristine for you. And I'm excited for it. So thank you all so much for being here in the audience. Thank you so much for watching at home. And I'll be live tomorrow morning once again. Might be a different time. We might be talking to some people, but I'll be talking through all of what happens today on the Big Brother 28 live feeds. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see all of you next time. Thank you.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.